Alright, what is going on guys, it's Tazz here, and welcome back to the channel. Now today we've got for you guys is another Flash video. So spoiler warning if you guys are not caught up with this season of The Flash, but with that out of the way, let's continue. In the most recent episode, episode 3 titled The Death of Vibe, we learned quite a bit more about the future that Nora comes from with our first glimpse of the Flash Museum, which was really cool, and I will come back to later on in the video. We were also introduced to the new Wells for this season in the form of Sherlock Wells, who is a very cool spin on the different Wells we've seen in the past and Sherlock Holmes. But the one big thing this episode that we learned was Nora changing the timeline has resulted in something that we all kind of thought from the beginning, and that is the early creation of the villain for the first part of this season, Cicada. I thought it was a nice little nod to the comics when everyone thought that David Hirsch was Cicada for a bit because that is his name in the comics and according to Sherlock Wells on 37 Other Earths as well. So it was nice to see that the show is putting their own spin on the character of Cicada. But not just the name of TV show Cicada is different from the comics, he had a lot more abilities within the show that he doesn't have in the comics because making bubble shields and flying is not part of the comic book Cicada's arsenal of powers. So I'm very excited to see how this character is going to be different going forward. But one really interesting thing that happened at the end of this episode was the conversation between Nora and Sherlock, where he basically called her out and deduced that she must have been working with someone in the future in order to come back and try to save Barry.
Can you help me with something? I've been wondering, you've traveled back into all these great moments of your parents' lives, right? Some wonderful, some dangerous, most not as dangerous as punching a falling satellite, right? And yet, that is the moment when you made the decision to act, altering the course of history forever. That decision, did you come to it on your own? Of course you did, right? No, of course you did. Your excess. The temptation was too much, I'm sure.
It was.
Well, please, forgive me. I have a dinner to go to. All right?
So in the scene, they both kind of just laughed it off, but we did see at the very end, Nora gave her classic, "I'm definitely hiding something" look to the camera as she walked away. So this has led me to a few possible theories. Now, first off, I just want to get that theory that Nora is the Reverse Flash in disguise out of the way. They went through all of that at the beginning of the season, trying to figure out if Nora really was Barry and Iris's daughter, and they confirmed that she was. So I just don't think that this is a very plausible theory. I mean, I guess it could definitely be a thing that happens, possibly, but I just don't think that it's very likely, especially compared to the other two theories that I have here, one of which actually does involve the Reverse Flash. The first one I have here is another one that I think is pretty cool to kind of think about, but it is just one that I think we can honestly throw away, at least right now, and that is that she is working with her twin in the future, similar to the Tornado Twins from the comics, so Dawn and Dawn Allen, in a way. Now, I don't think that they're going to do this, at least at the moment, again, to stay a bit different from the comics, and if they were really setting up that Nora had a twin, then they would have just made her name Dawn to begin with, and then they would have had the Dawn and Dawn Allen thing. So I think that the reason that they've had her be Nora and she's acting very different and everything is because they want to make this character completely separate from the comics and have no ties to the Tornado Twins. So maybe they could introduce a sibling sometime in the future, and maybe it could be a sort of change as a result of Barry being saved from his 2024 fate by the end of the season. That way we could have a brother or a sister of Nora in the future and have this show's version of the Tornado Twins. But the other theory I have here is one that I've latched on to quite a bit more, and that is that somehow Nora was influenced by the Reverse Flash who traveled to her time in the future and tricked her into changing the timeline. And this theory kind of just came about due to all of those Reverse Flash references and Easter eggs we've gotten all throughout the season and how prominently featured his suit was in that Flash Museum scene from the beginning of this episode. Now, we all know and have been told all throughout the season that Nora is basically a Flash fangirl in the future, And we also do know that the Reverse Flash's origin involves him being a big fan of the Flash as well. And obviously, since Nora is such a big fan of the Flash, she would know who Eobard is, so that's where we could get that payoff from last year's crossover where he said, "Who knows what face I'll be wearing next time we meet." And if that is the case, enter Eobard Thawne with a fake name and a new face in order to trick Nora into believing him. So the interaction would probably go something a little bit like this.
My name is totally not Eobard Thawne, and I'm a big fan of the Flash too. Pay no attention to my obviously fake mustache, but you should mess with the timeline because nothing bad ever happens when speedsters meddle with time.
And then Nora would be all like, "Okay, whatever you say, totally not the Reverse Flash." But anyway, if Eobard was able to manipulate Nora's love for not only the Flash, but her father as well, this could have been the reason why she's gone back in time to try to change things. And everything that's happening now could be some part of an elaborate plan by Eobard Thawne to somehow kill the Flash without erasing himself from existence. So I think this would be a very cool way to incorporate the Reverse Flash into Season 5, especially after all of these references throughout the first few episodes. Also, it does seem like Cicada will only be the villain up until the 100th episode, and then a new threat will take over, so if that threat isn't Caitlyn's father or something for the rest of Season 5, why not have a new version of the Reverse Flash take over? And who knows, maybe if Nora either unknowingly or even knowingly worked with the Reverse Flash in the future, this could be the real reason that Nora is super distant with Iris. Maybe she warned her about him and she didn't listen. Definitely sounds like a Nora thing to do. But other than that, guys, what do you think of these theories as to who Nora is working with in the future? Do you agree, do you disagree, or do you have some theories of your own? Let me know down in the comments below. But until next time, guys, it's been Tazz, and I'll see you guys in the next video.